I think that she is almost goading the Prime Minister into sacking her, knowing full well that she will then launch her leadership bid. I think that's the sort of naked ambition of the Home Secretary to become Prime Minister is out there loud and clear.
So, putting on that former Home Office SPAD hat, what do you think the sequence of events is most likely to have been before this article and opinion piece was published in the Times?
Well, in my day, it would have been a case of drafting up an op-ed to go out into the media, which would then have gone through to number 10. It would have gone through private office and the press office and comments to have come back. And this process would have been started at the beginning of the week. So I find it very, very strange that number 10 have said that they had seen it and they had sent amendments, and those amendments appear to have been ignored. Now, if you're going to look at collective responsibility of the cabinet, which is something that I was always held to, then that piece should never have been sent across to the publication. It should never have gone out unless those amendments are made. So I can't quite understand why the Home Secretary or her office have decided that it was enough to say number 10 had seen it and allowed it and sent it off to a journalist. I'm failing to see why the process, which is very simple and straightforward, why that has not been followed.
Okay, so can I press you on the phrase "very, very strange"? I mean, there's a certain kind of implication there, Claire. I mean, do you think that a deliberate blind eye has been used here in order for this type of opinion to be released by Suella Braverman, but actually be thoroughly endorsed by the rest of the Conservative cabinet?
Now, I don't think it's going to have been endorsed by the rest of the cabinet, and we've seen a range of ministers being out on the media round saying that they distance themselves from those words. They would not use the words hate marches. So, in my mind, and without wanting to predict what has happened, I look at it from the perspective of Suella Braverman doing what Suella Braverman wants to do. This suits her purpose enormously and is putting all of the weight onto Rishi Sunak's shoulders as to what his next move is going to be. We mustn't forget that Suella Braverman was the reason behind the rise of Rishi Sunak. Is she going to be the reason behind his fall at the same time? She's in a vastly stronger position than I think he will ever hope to be.
In your time at the Home Office, how would the police have been spoken about? And we would love to hear your thoughts on the kind of tone that's used by Suella Braverman about the police in this piece.
I didn't have direct responsibility over what happened with policing or those kind of decisions. However, within the immigration space, we did have to have talks with the Metropolitan Police and other police forces, depending on what was going on. And it was always a case of you would ask them what their opinion was and then tell them what it was you wanted to do and have a discussion about it. Now, I was at the Home Office when Theresa May was Prime Minister, and it was a very different kind of relationship. She'd always taken quite a strong line with policing, but we were always to respect the decision, and the police have that responsibility, and you should let them carry out their duties accordingly. You can hold them to account, but you can't force a political opinion upon them.
So this idea, I mean, it's not an idea, is it? It's very clearly there in print that senior police officers are playing favourites and definitely approaching different protesters with a different kind of political mindset. That's not a conversation that you have been part of before.
No, and as I say, I looked after immigration, so it wasn't directly within the policing sphere, but I would say that you need to look at the Metropolitan Police. The Home Secretary will have to deal with the Metropolitan Police, but you need to have a good relationship in order to do so. And for that relationship to break down, it makes those conversations even more difficult. Now, if, and it's a big if, the force is having favourites with their protests and they are turning a blind eye to certain behaviours, and that shouldn't be allowed. The police are there to uphold the law. They are not there to give their opinion in the same way that politicians are not to give their opinion on policing in a political manner.
Do you worry that a special advisor might take the fall for this, and possibly that it's fair that a special advisor takes the fall for this?
No, I wouldn't have said it was fair whatsoever. Advisors are there to advise, and and ministers decide. That is always the way of this. And it is the minister, the elected representative, who is responsible, who holds that office. The ultimate decision rests on their shoulders. So to throw an advisor under the bus, I think, is cowardly. I don't think it's right whatsoever. They are only working with the information that they have. They can put stuff forward. It is entirely down to the minister, secretary of state, prime minister to decide whether they follow that through.
And where do
Um,
you think Suella Braverman wants to be on Sunday evening?
now, that is a really difficult one because I think that she is almost goading the prime minister into sacking her, knowing full well that she will then launch her leadership bid. I think that's the sort of naked ambition of the Home Secretary to become Prime Minister is out there loud and clear. So I think that she will be plotting her next moves. It's not very good for the party. It is not very good for the country. And I think it's the wrong decision. But I fully suspect that she is looking at where the rise of her future will go.